Do you ever feel like you're juggling a million versions of yourself and still dropping the ball? Like you're switching hats all day, professional, partner, parent, friend, and no one really sees what it takes to just be you? Yeah, me too. Welcome to Hat Rack with Hannah. I'm Hannah, therapist, entrepreneur, author, podcast host, and also a mom, partner, daughter, friend, basically a professional hat wearer. I created this space where you don't have to minimize what you're carrying or rush past it. Because the truth is, you can have big dreams and feel overwhelmed by the roles it takes to hold them. Both get to exist. Here we slow it down, call it what it is, take some hats off, and figure out what actually belongs in your rack. So take a deep breath. You can set something down here, and let's get into it. Hi all, welcome back to Hat Rack with Hannah, and I am Hannah, and this is our guest, Jessica. So Jessica is a spiritual mentor and sobriety advocate dedicated to guiding others through deep inner healing, transformation, and self-discovery. As someone who has walked through the fire of addiction, surrender, and rebirth, she brings a profound sense of compassion, wisdom, and authenticity to her work. Jessica's journey began with a moment of complete surrender, a pivotal turning point when she was hospitalized due to addiction and made the life-altering decision to embrace sobriety. This experience, along with resilience she cultivated as a single mother, became the foundation of her purpose to help others reclaim their power, find clarity, and step into their highest potential. Blending spirituality, intuition, and shadow work, Jessica offers an alternative approach to traditional therapy. She creates a safe, nurturing space where clients feel seen, heard, and deeply understood. Her gift lies in her ability to tune into the emotions, struggles, and untapped potential of those she mentors, helping them navigate their healing journey with grace and empowerment. Welcome, Jessica.
Thank you so much. That was so sweet. Thank you.
Of course. I'm so excited to have you, especially as we've really, I don't know, I've felt a connection with you from the jump. So I'm really excited to just get to have a more in-depth conversation. But also, coming from your lens of the spirituality and shadow work space, and then me as the therapeutic space and how those merge together, just getting to talk to someone who does similar work is fun.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I felt a connection with you right away, and it's so beautiful that we can deepen the connection and each use what we do and what we've gone through and help lift each other up. And, it's all intertwined,
Yeah.
spirituality, therapy, shadow work. And yeah, I'm excited too.
Absolutely. It is all intertwined. So, Jessica and I know each other because we are writing a collaborative book together with FemPower Publishing House. Yeah, and that's how we met.
I know. I know. So
Yeah.
cool. We're going to be writing a book with other female entrepreneurs as well. And it's going to be great. We're all sharing our truth in our
Yep.
chapters. It's kind of what we're talking about. It's going to be cathartic, healing to let that out there and just share alongside these other women as well our
Yeah.
story.
Well, and these connections have just been completely amazing because everyone is such a badass in this group, and all of these authors have such amazing stories and truths to tell. So I'm just so excited about it. So it'll be great.
Me too. It feels surreal. I'm very much looking forward to it. And now we got connected on this level and we get
Yeah.
to write together, share our truth together, and
Yeah.
grow and
Talk
support.
together, support our humans
Yeah.
together.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, and tell me more about what you do, and then also break down how you intertwine these things, and then what spirituality and intuitiveness and shadow work mean to you, and what those mean to people who might not know.
Yeah, no, absolutely. My work is very deeply layered because everybody is so individualized.
Yeah.
And that's what I find is holds the power when you can have those sessions where it is very individualized based on the person. So I'll bring up their whole chart, astrology chart. It's very
Okay.
important yeah, to do that in terms of it because we all have superpowers and everybody has a frequency code. Everybody has a frequency code. I always say this where really our 10th house. So when you look into the chart, your 10th house is your domain. It's like your legacy, what you're here for. And everybody's 10th house is going to be different, than from the other person. And then our Jupiter placement, that's how abundance flows through you. So I really tap into those things as well as human design. It really helps me get to know them on a deeper level so that I can do the work that's best suited for them. And shadow work is so important in my work because a lot of people talk a lot about manifestation all the time, which of course we love manifestation, right?
Yeah.
But there's always a shadow to what we desire. And really when anybody sees something that they desire or something that they really want, I view that as a preview. I don't think that's something that they just want. I think it's a preview of what's meant for them. When you deeply desire something, it's like that preview of, okay, that's meant for me. How do I get there? And so anything is possible, especially in spirituality, when you look through the individual and what they've been through and what they have to offer and how their energy moves through the world. So it's very individualized, but I'll take the shadow work as a main priority because there's a shadow to everything. And for me personally, shadow work has been so important in my sobriety as well, because I'm looking at all the hidden repressed parts of myself and what really kept me stuck or what was I trying to run from. And I want to feel peaceful in my body. And yes, nervous system regulation is very important. Nervous system regulation is, but that is not the root cause. There's always a root cause. The nervous system dysregulation is the symptom. I always say this
Mhm.
to my clients. It's the symptom. So getting to the root cause in our sessions and our work together is very important too, because that's when you can start to come home to yourself. And that's through shadow work is really how I started coming home to myself. Yeah.
That's beautiful. And I resonate with that so deeply because oftentimes in the therapeutic space, in my therapeutic space, I should say, we are always talking about the nervous system and how it's dysregulated due to trauma or experiences, right? But there's always a deeper root. And some people won't go there because they don't believe that. And so then we only focus on the physical. But oftentimes, a lot of people really have a hard time accepting that the mental and the physical and even the spiritual, right, are all intertwined. And that spiritual doesn't also have to mean like religious, like it's
Oh,
universal.
absolutely. Yes, absolutely. It's a deep thing, right?
Yeah.
Spirituality is what it is to you, right? It is universal. It goes back that from with our ancestors, really, and you can feel it and it lives in your body as well. And this is what happened with me is I had a deep, profound spiritual awakening twice, and that's where I started the spiritual teaching, really. When I had my
Yeah.
first spiritual awakening, I was pregnant with my daughter in 2016. That
Okay.
was my first one. And I also had another deep spiritual awakening through the process of my recovery and getting sober. So there was, yeah, that's kind of where the teaching, it's my passion. I do feel like I was called here to walk people through the pain into turning it into your purpose, and that shadow work doesn't have to be scary. Yes, it's challenging to get to those deeper roots, but it's so rewarding, and it's our birthright to feel on a high frequency, to feel joy, to feel enlightenment, and that's how we get to that space is
Right.
through the deeper work.
Well, and break it down even more. What is shadow work?
Shadow
Yeah.
work is looking at the hidden repressed parts of ourselves that we feel shame. So, for
Okay.
example, for me, I had a lot of shame when it came to my drinking. And so I would hide that, right? That's one example, but it can be anything. You have shame for anything. All the shame, that's a low frequency, right? Shame, guilt, all those things are a low frequency. So they get repressed. And that dysregulates your nervous system because, like you said, even your mind and your body and spirit are all connected. So it's
Right.
important for us to look at those repressed parts, right? Because they're a blockage. They're a blockage. I'm telling you, when I released all of these things suppressed in my body, everything I desired started coming to
Yep.
place, truly, piece by piece, with me just simply being.
Yeah. Well, and oftentimes I feel like people mistake shadow work for solutions instead of processing through the harder lower frequency layers. And I feel like lower frequency layers can be really intimidating because they're the things we don't want to say out loud. They're the feelings that societally we're supposed to repress, right? When really, to me, shadow work is just like processing through the things, like the learned behaviors that aren't ours to hold in the first place. But if we don't get out of our own way and we don't realize these learned behaviors were actually assigned to us and not ours, then we can't pursue our mission and how we need to move
Yeah.
forward through this world or get to move forward through this world. I feel like some people can be like, this is so woo. I hate the word woo because I honestly think it's like a whole systemic, like, we're going to call this woo because it's scary and because it's helping people see things they shouldn't see in society, right? But this is ancestral and this is a way of becoming your own in this universe. But when you say like spiritual awakening, how do you feel like people can identify when they're having those? I know it's
Yeah,
a hard
that's
one
a
because
valid
it's so
question.
individualized, but
Yes, it is. However, you will know because this is how I would explain it. So, how do you know when you've had a spiritual awakening? Really, for me, it's like you start seeing the beauty again in life. You start feeling regulated. You can feel the signs and synchronicities all around you. You are coming back home to yourself. Like to me, a spiritual awakening is coming back home to yourself. So, whatever that looks like for you, for me, it was really being able to sit with myself, being able to see all the things around me. I have never been so guided in my life. And yes, it does sound, I get what you're saying. Some people think it's woo, but everything is energy, right? Everything
right,
is energy. We carry an
absolutely.
energy with ourselves. So when we're having a spiritual awakening, our energy returns back to us. So it's back to our own self, where before we were outsourcing, we were constantly outsourcing to everything else or just feeling lost. Like when you have a spiritual awakening, you do. I had an out of body experience. So mine was very woo woo. So I'm trying to give it a more general
Yeah,
definition, I guess, but really it is coming back home to yourself when you have a spiritual awakening. I had an out of body experience for both of mine that was profound and almost hard to articulate. Anytime someone asks me, I'm like, oh, what is a spiritual awakening? Because it's, like you said, it's very individualized.
yeah,
But it's another thing, actually a really good thing to explain it is you feel guided by a higher power. It can be anything that you call it. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Universe, power, God. It can be whatever you believe, but it's something outside yourself and a force that you feel so intensely. You can only explain it unless you've had one. Like truly.
yeah.
And
No.
yeah.
Well, and how do you think, like, what are some tips for our viewers when it comes to tapping into that energy piece instead of ignoring it? Because I have so many clients and friends and family and like humans in my life who are just like, I've felt it, but like I'm busy or I we live in a capitalistic society. I have to make money, so like I hear it and I know I want to do it and it will come eventually, but like I can't right now. I have to do this, right? So how do we acknowledge when it's happening instead of bypass?
Yeah, that is a good question. And this is the thing is that for me personally, I was forced to sit my ass down. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? They were
Yes.
like, you have no choice. Sit down and sit with yourself and through this stillness. And I am busy, right? I am busy. I'm a mom of two. I run my own business. I'm doing all the things,
Yeah.
but it's a non-negotiable for me. For the mornings, I meditate. I pray. I have a prayer I do every single morning on awakening, and it's a prayer every single morning that I do, and I tap myself into the source that is greater than me because I don't run the show. When I run the show, that's when things start getting frustrated, irritable. I pause when agitated. And as you start to do this more, you're going to see that you're going to get your the answers come to you more easily, your intuition. It's more listening to yourself. That's what it is, listening to yourself. It's very easy to say, hard to do,
Yeah.
right? Hard to do.
Yeah. Well, and especially making time to pause. I know something that you frequently say and talk about with your clients is like the beauty is in the pause. And that's how you're able to come home to yourself. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so the beauty is in the pause. I say God is in the pause, universe is in the pause, whatever you choose, because that's when I get downloads. That's when I can hear my intuition. I'm not hearing the noise of the external, right? We get our internal world is so important for everything. It
Yeah.
runs the show. You'll be surprised if you just take that pause with yourself, more abundance is going to come to you. And abundance, when I say abundance, that can be money, but it also can be love, connection, support, deeper than you imagine. So yeah, pausing is very important. And I notice going out about my day to day how much people don't do that. It's
Yep.
like this,
Yep.
this, and then we wonder why we're overwhelmed, overstimulated.
Right.
We're not in that source. We're in our ego, really. We
Yeah.
start getting in our ego, right? And then we start over analyzing. That's not us. That's the shadow trying to pull you down, right? It's the shadow trying to pull you down, being like, no, you got to do that. No, you don't. You
Mhm.
actually don't. Yes, I get there's responsibilities. I'm not saying you can just be like, woo, I'm not doing anything,
Right. Please don't do
right? We all have stuff to
that.
do, but make it a non-negotiable. If you really want to get in touch with that side of yourself, you spend 10 minutes in your morning and you sit in silence. Nobody sits in silence now. We bring our phones
No.
with us everywhere. No, not
Yep.
me. I'm not joking. I'll be like, I don't know, where's my phone? Like I really leave my phone away. Yes, I do go on my phone a lot for work, but then it's gone because I really can't do that noise all the time. Otherwise, I
Yeah.
can't think
Oh,
clearly.
absolutely. Well, and I think we often forget how our society is completely overstimulating and how we as humans aren't actually supposed to operate this way. And like we love technology, we love advancements, right? But the advancements have added to this overstimulation where we really aren't taking the time of day. I live in Colorado. We're all about nature here and all about putting your like immersing yourself in nature. Oftentimes people aren't doing that. If you're walking your dog, even because I am in the metro, right? Like everyone has an AirPod in. They're not just walking their dog or just being in those moments and being present. But I do agree with you that I think the downloads or the messaging that we need to hear is often in the times where we take silence and we're just not doing it.
Yeah, we are constantly over consuming and we have no space for our mind, body, soul to process and give us the messages that's meant for us. We're consuming everything else, right? We
Right.
have to consume the thoughts, our inner thoughts. That's what we should be consuming all of the time. Everything can wait, right? Urgency is
Urgency culture,
great.
oof. I talk about it with my
Yeah,
clients all the time. It's so toxic and no one's dying. Slow down.
yeah. Yeah, it's so hard for us to slow down. So really
Yeah.
that's the number one thing for to have a spiritual awakening, you slow down, you sit with yourself and watch as it unfolds and really tap into something greater than yourself. We have beauty all around us. Everyone's missing it.
Yeah.
Not everyone, but you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I was missing it. I was missing it. I literally said yesterday to my boyfriend, I was like, wow, I'm excited about life again. I am so excited about life again. And I wasn't for a long time because I was in a trance. I
Yeah.
was like on autopilot. And now the messaging I get constantly for myself, I'm like, wow, this is so powerful. I wish I just stopped before and
Right.
just let myself sit with this so that like the pain that we go through, everyone has trauma, everyone has pain. It's not a life sentence. It's not a life sentence. I was treating it like it was a life sentence, right? I was like,
Right.
no, no. And you can see it in actually in my face if I look at myself when I was in I guess that autopilot, you could
Yeah.
see the light out of me. The light like literally came back. It's actually I can't even explain it. That's why I'm like, wow, it and this is the work that I do and I watch it happen with my clients, I watch their spark come back. It's as exciting for me as it is for them. I get so excited because everyone deserves that. You deserve
Right.
the happiness, you deserve the joy and the freedom and space to create a life that feels good while doing things and, making the money and making the connections, but still having that time for yourself where you're not comparing. There's no compare. It's just
Absolutely.
in your lane, staying in what is coming to you. We're all
Yeah.
beautiful. All of us. All of us are so beautiful and unique. And now that I am in this space, when I connect with people, I connect with them on a deeper level. It's so fun. Like it's
Yeah.
so fun.
Well, and so it sounds like you're recommending like that this needs to be a daily presence, silence mode in order to have spiritual awakenings. Like we need to take the time to pause. Like that's
Yeah.
your recommendation.
Surrender and pause. We try to
Yeah.
control, right? We're trying to control things a lot without even realizing we're trying to do that. And then once you
Oh yeah.
just surrender and really there's like a process, you really do the shadow work does create the spiritual awakening as well
Yeah.
because you're really because that's the repression, right? It creates that movement for the energy to flow through you so you get to the other side where you do feel enlightened. Spiritual awakening is the high frequency when you feel enlightened. And to get to that,
Right.
you do need to make sure you're taking the time to tap into yourself, right? And you
Absolutely.
can have multiple spiritual awakenings throughout your lifetime. You know what I mean? It's a daily thing that I come back to. It's not something where, oh, had a spiritual awakening, done with that, moving on. It's not a
Right.
checklist, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's a way of living, it's a way of life, it's a daily practice for me that I really take seriously because without that I feel like I really am not myself and I'm not at peace.
Right.
And that's why I do the daily practice. Of course, for me, mine is a lot about my sobriety too, but it's really more than that. I am going to be doing this for the rest of my life, and God willing, I will never drink again as well, and just be able to continue this process of deepening my connection and constantly helping others do the same. Yeah.
Yeah. That's beautiful. I'm so happy that you're doing this work. It's really hard work, but I love what you're saying of like the shadow work is actually the lowest frequency and it needs to be in the things that are suppressed. And in order to be in your higher frequency, the things that cause us anxiety and cause us depression and like cause us a lot of stress in our daily life are often just those lower frequency things. Like I don't think I've ever had anyone say it so clearly.
Yeah, that's the shadow. Anything that you desire is yours. There's a shadow to it, and that's the blockage that why
Yeah.
you're not getting it. So
Right.
anything, yeah, yeah, that the hidden repressed parts of yourself are a low frequency because if you look at the scale of frequency, shame, guilt, all those are on the bottom, right? And so it really creates you to get into this higher frequency when you release those things, and they can be deep rooted. Like I
Oh, for sure.
did EMDR. Have you ever heard of
Oh,
EMDR?
oh, I've done it
Of
myself.
course.
I've heard of it. Of
You're
course. Of
poor.
course.
You're
We're
there.
trauma girlies, right? We have to have
Yeah.
release in multiple ways.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's helpful. That's similar to shadow work because you
Mhm.
have to go through all the traumatic events and I didn't want to do that, right? I
No,
I
but
didn't
you have
want to
to
do that. I was not
revisit to
comfortable.
reprocess. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not all doom and gloom. You don't stay in that space. Yes, it's a process, but then you get out of it. Like
Right.
that's what releases it.
Right.
Right. So yeah, that it is a low frequency. Those hit it. We're only as sick as our secrets. That saying, I really truly feel that deeply. And that's also a low frequency. And those are shadows too, because they're secrets. We're trying to keep them hidden. And once you let them out, it's like a purge. And it's like,
Yeah.
wow, I didn't realize I was carried in my body for this long.
Yeah. Well, and something we've talked about too in our other spaces where you and I've worked together before is also just this like reactiveness to like what are people going to think of me or perception that is also a low frequency thing and keeps us from moving higher, right? What is your advice to kind of move through that? Because I think it often keeps people in those lower levels.
Absolutely. I mean, I couldn't agree more. It keeps you on those lower levels. But what someone else told me this, and what other people think of you are none of your business. And I just live by that. What
Yeah.
other people think of me is none of my business. I don't know. I used to care so much and I would be devastated to be like, oh my goodness, I have a drinking problem. Now I'm telling you, couldn't care. Like,
Yeah.
not couldn't care about the people, but whatever the other person thinks of me, it's just none of my business. Otherwise, I'm gonna be living in shame at the cost of wondering what someone else thinks of me. No, thank you. So what
Right.
I would advise
Right.
is through the shadow work, and through this process, you just naturally don't you start to move away from that energy and more into embodying yourself.
Well, you talk about coming home to yourself. What are some ways that people can do that? Or what does that look like for you, even when we're getting through all the learned behaviors and figuring out what was assigned to us versus what is ours? Like, how do we know that we're coming home? And how do you start that journey?
Good question.
Hard one, I know.
I mean, no, it's a really, really great question. And for everybody, coming home to yourself does look different, but there
Yeah.
is a general feeling of peace, right? You're at peace with who you are, what you represent. You start living in truth. You stop comparing yourself. You do what feels good for you. You have boundaries. You're living your life in joy and enlightenment. That's what coming home to myself feels like, living life on life's terms in truth. I feel like truth is coming home to yourself. You get truthful, you get
Mm,
honest with yourself, and then you start to feel like you're at home with yourself. Really like 15 years, I felt this sense of restlessness and irritability,
yeah.
and I couldn't point why. And it's because I wasn't back home to myself. I was giving parts of myself away constantly. And then I was dispersing that, and I was not one or home with myself. I was constantly giving that away, abandoning myself, literally abandoning myself constantly over and over. And now I no longer will do that. I refuse to abandon myself for anything. I really will
Okay.
not.
When you say abandoning yourself, what does that look like? Because I don't think people understand the depth that boundaries hold, or that giving people your energy who don't deserve it, what that holds. What is it to you?
So abandoning myself is giving other people power over me to decide who I am, to just tell
Mm,
me something and I take it on as if it's real, or I say yes when I mean no.
okay.
That's a bit, there's so many things that I was doing that I felt personally were me abandoning myself. And one of them was saying yes when I meant no. One of them was really taking on what other people said as if it was my truth when it's
Yeah.
not. When you actually look at what's going on with other people, it has a lot to do with what they're going through and not really what is happening with you. And when you start
Yeah.
to take on other people's words as truth, when you know, that's again your intuition. When you start getting away from your intuition, you know who you are. As long as you are in truth and honesty, your body knows that. It literally doesn't matter what someone else says. They can't tell you what you are. But there's so many ways I was abandoning myself. I was abandoning myself by drinking. That was abandonment. No, I can't deal with this. That's abandoning myself. What else was I doing?
So
Being
also like
in
avoidance, it sounds like, is
avoidance is
a form of
completely
abandonment.
abandoning.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Really
Even
powerful.
relationships. I went through a lot of, and I don't use this word lightly, but toxic relationships. They were I really did, and I kept allowing that to happen. And even if I would end a relationship, I would end up right back in a similar one because I was attracting that frequency.
Mm,
I was literally attracting that frequency. Now when I'm here, I'm attracting different type of frequency, or I'm so aware I can see right through what's happening. Like if these relationships wouldn't happen today, but that was part of my story. And I
yeah.
wouldn't change anything that I've been through for the world because it did teach me a lot, but I abandoned myself by allowing myself to be in types of relationships that were so awful, even friendships. Even
Yep.
friendships, I would allow myself to just be treated poorly. That's
Yeah.
abandoning myself.
Well, and we
Yeah.
had a listener submit their hat a while back, and it was kind of about like her mom friends judging her parenting. And when I saw that, and in the context of this conversation, not setting that boundary or being around people who are doing that, or even just being around friends and not having that conversation could be really seen as a form of abandoning yourself. Like when it comes to energy exchange, I guess, how do you identify when someone you're exchanging energy with, we need to stop or not? I don't want to say cut out because I know that's a huge buzz phrase, but we need to identify as someone who doesn't serve us.
Yeah. We always know and we ignore. Again, we avoid it. All the signs are there, and sometimes because we are on a low frequency, we'll take any form of connection or love, or we want to feel like we belong. Especially when it comes to motherhood too.
Oh, yes.
It Yeah, that in itself is a whole process, and it can create all these emotions, and you want to belong, you want to feel good, but anybody who's judgment also is like a lower frequency, right?
Right.
I don't if I I mean, you decipher. There's some stuff you're like that's just not okay, but in reality, a lot of times we just want to belong, and that's how we abandon ourselves.
I think too, like, just gonna tap into the motherhood piece real quick. I don't know about you, but I always envisioned that like when you have kids, there's this village that shows up and supports you. And I feel like that narrative is not something our generation is experiencing. And it's more about like creating the village that you need to support you and how it looks for you. And I don't think a lot of new parents expect that. So we like kind of just take what we can get because it's harder to build than a lot of people realize. But we also need to remember like what we need to put back that's not ours because all it doesn't always fit what you need. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. I Motherhood is spiritual to me.
For
Motherhood is
sure.
spiritual, very spiritual. And that's the thing is I was talking about this the other day too, how before it was a village, everyone was helping each other. I remember my childhood, like there's all these different people, and now it really is not as much like that. So,
Yeah.
but we have to remember people are there, the connections are. You'd rather be alone than with people that make you feel less than. You don't
Right.
deserve to feel less than. And you can redirect to your people, because I guarantee there is your people are there and you just didn't find them yet. But I agree, it's very important to have support and find the people that make you feel good. So when you leave, you're feeling good. You're not over analyzing, oh, what they thought this to me, they thought this to me, they were doing this. No, you should leave feeling like, wow, I feel so connected. I'm so glad
Right.
that I have this group or this friend or this or
Yeah. Well, and also noticing when you leave an interaction if it doesn't fill your cup because
your
there's so
body
many.
knows. Your body
Right.
keeps the score. When you leave a connection, just tap into your body. How do you feel?
Take the minute in the car by yourself to just tap in, right?
Yeah, that's all it is. Just tapping
Yeah.
into your own. You have the power. You're the compass. We are our own compass.
And it's so important to do that. Another thing that you talk about a lot, it's about going with the flow as opposed to balance. Talk to me a little bit more about that because I feel like we're always looking for balance and we're negotiating our energy and capacity every second of the day. But it seems like you're telling us something different.
Personally, I don't think that balance is the answer, because there sometimes just is no balance, right? We have
Fair.
to really, because balance can also create, or balance, it's because the word, it sounds like you're balancing, but really a lot of times that creates force, because we're like, okay, well, we're balancing this. But is it forcing or is it balancing? Because really you have to tap in more, be in your feminine energy, then you're open to receive and say yes to the things that you want. Whereas balance, I feel like creates a lot of shame, because we are like, oh, well, I'm not balancing this well enough. It's okay. Probably most people aren't, because balance is not always possible. Sometimes you're going to have 100%, sometimes you're going to have 10%. And
Right.
so you kind of go with the flow of what you feel. Even as women, like we have a cycle we need to follow. Sometimes that week is not going to be as balanced, and we're going to have to decide, okay, I'm actually going to go with how I feel and rest, or I'm actually going to, you know what I mean? Like, does that
Absolutely.
resonate?
Yes, absolutely. When it's very interesting how our society doesn't even acknowledge that women can plan for or anticipate making changes based on their cycle, right? Based on their capacity and energy and where their cycle is at. I have to have that conversations so often of like, you're in your luteal phase, you're way more emotional, you are not going to be regulated. So what are you doing to plan for that? And 9 times out of 10, it's like nothing. What do you mean plan for that? Why
Yeah.
aren't you? Like we need to.
I agree. I was just talking about this too. It's like you're everything that you're saying. I
We're
was
we're all coming through.
recently talked about how I want to start scheduling my schedule based on my cycle because it's so important. It really is. It's like then we feel like we're forcing things because when we plan that week, we are feeling different than that week.
Right.
Or you know what I mean?
Yes,
So
absolutely. Oh, completely. And
let
there's so
the
much more
flow for
energy
you
in shifts of the cycle.
so much.
Yeah. But I love this take that like instead of balance, it's flow and aligning our energy and capacity. I think that makes a lot of sense. I just wanted to tap back into something for those who are listening who do not understand frequencies. Can you give me an explanation of lower, middle, higher, or like how that frequencies work? Because I feel like when we're discussing it, it can sound like we're putting ourselves on a pedestal, right? Like, oh, this lower, oh, this higher. What are the levels of frequency? Talk to me about them.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And truly, it's not even that. It's not someone's better than the other. It really isn't because realistically, just like we're talking about this with our cycle, sometimes do you think I'm always on a high frequency? Absolutely not. Imagine I'm human, right? Like I do get tap in. It's the awareness so you bring yourself back so you don't always you're not staying in that shame cycle or really it's coming up and it's very temporary because you've done the deeper rooted work. So it's not you're not
Okay.
living in shame. There's a difference between living in a low frequency to, you'll go in and out. Sometimes you're going to be angry sometimes, but when you tap into a high frequency is, I know this is hard to explain
It is,
when you
yeah.
break it down,
But I
when you
like what
break
you
it
were
down,
saying of like frequency is awareness. Because like as you're
that
talking about it, it's kind of like what I'm hearing is like, okay, low frequency is things that don't serve you, like shame, guilt, like other people's things they're putting on you, or like negative energies that don't fuel you. So that I'm assuming higher frequency is just like when you're upmost in your authenticity. I don't know.
absolutely when you're living in truth and yeah, when you're living in truth and like this enlightened state, it's you get to it through doing the inner work. Like
Right,
I mean, if you take children, for example, a lot of them are on such a high frequency, unless I know this sounds so awful, but like for me, like if I look at myself as a child, I was how I am now. I'm very bubbly, playful, love writing, love exploring. That's how I was. That I was on a high frequency because I'm myself.
right.
I see the beauty in the world. Nothing has really got to me yet. And then you can see as I got to kind of grade two when my parents divorced and I didn't realize how much it affected me till later
Yeah,
um how my frequency started going down and it's like as if the traumas that I had lowered my frequency because then I started to
right,
think it's my fault. And then when I got into high school, my frequency went way down. Like I was like silent in high school. That is not my personality, right? Like
right.
I would if you look at videos of me, like I was very sad. I was on a low frequency, and that doesn't mean that I was less than anybody else. That means I was struggling and I didn't know that's why I was on a low
Okay.
frequency. I would have never said that in high school. I'm on a low frequency. I just was very depressed after going
Yeah,
through multiple different traumas back to back. And so that yeah, it is a whole thing, but no one's better than another. And if you are on a low frequency, it does not mean that you're less than or that you can't reach this high frequency. Everybody can. Every single person can get to a high frequency. And it's not as woo woo as it sounds or complicated. It's literally just living in your truth, feeling joy, deep, genuine, authentic joy, being yourself, like you said, being your
yeah.
most authentic self. You're just naturally on a high frequency. That's all it is. It's not something super
Okay.
complicated or anything like that.
No, but it also sounds like it's normal to like flex in and out depending on what's what life is handing you too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Sometimes I find myself I'll feel guilt about something like even from like the past, and then you see that I can feel it. But then
Yeah.
I work through it. It's a process. I'm not healed. Healing is a lifelong process.
Well, and I love that you're saying that because I have so many people who believe healing is a destination that you arrive at instead of something you pursue your whole life, right?
I believe it's a lifelong journey, and I'm glad I'm got to a space where now I enjoy the process instead of not.
Yeah. Well, and there's struggle in it for sure, but that's okay. That's what makes life sweeter and like our ability and our awareness to see things for what they are.
Yeah, of course. We're not always going to be positive. We don't always have to be positive. I know everyone says be positive. And yes, I'm not saying don't be positive, but it's okay to actually feel those harder feelings. It's actually necessary. You know,
Oh,
it being
absolutely.
just positive doesn't mean that you have to be like that to be in a high frequency. No, you have to feel all of the things so that you are your most authentic self.
Yeah, well, and in this age of toxic positivity, I feel like people are like, well, if I'm just positive, I'm going to be there. And that's not actually what
Yeah,
it is. It's much more of the energy that you're feeling, the authenticity in the positivity versus just putting it on to like put it on.
your energy can't be faked, right? Like you can't
Right.
fake your way out of it. You simply can't fake it till you make it with when it comes to all of spirit, like a spiritual awakening or frequency or anything. That's the thing, is you have to do the work. And when you meet somebody who is on that level, you know. Now I always know. I'm like, wow, they had a spiritual awakening. Like I really
Yeah.
can feel it. And I feel everybody has them. That's why everyone just it's the wording of it that kind of
Right.
sometimes will pull people back, but it's actually nothing too complicated.
So, what I'm hearing from you today is that for us to reach our highest frequencies, we really need to stop and be present. And we really need to set boundaries around the things that are on our lowest frequencies.
It feels like it's going to be so complicated, but it's not. We don't have to have always like seriously doom and gloom, death and rebirths, you know what I mean, all of the
Right.
time. It really is just getting honest, open, and willing with yourself to see yourself with the truth of what's happened and know that it's your birthright to feel joy and freedom and happiness and get yourself there. Just sit with it, be in stillness. I would say stop the rushing. Everyone's rushing all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, just authentic. It really comes down to being authentic, open, willing, honest. It's all the truth. The truth sets you free.
Thank you so much for sharing with us. I know too that you are also sharing with our listeners a 15-minute spiritual session with you. And so I will put that in the description of our pod. What can listeners expect from that? Or what does that look like?
Yes, I love new connections as well. So with the 15-minute session, really, I'm just going to meet, and I like to do it. It's up to them. They can do it on the phone or on Zoom.
Okay.
And I'm going to do a reading for them. I'll just tap into it without, they don't have to do anything. Just show up as they are. And I'm going to tap into their energy because I also am able to do that. I'm clairaudient, so I'll get a lot of messaging that way. So that's it. They just show up for 15 minutes. I'm going to tap into their energy and just lay it all out there. And if they have questions through the session, they can let me know. But if not, I'm just going to relay all the messaging for them.
I think that'd be really cool for a lot of our listeners and very needed, especially when they're on their journey to their spiritual awakenings and figuring out how they can be on that higher frequency. Well, thank you so
Yeah.
much for joining us today. I really appreciate it. And I love everything that you are giving. It just feels good. And you have great vibes.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. Yeah, I really appreciate it. I loved our conversation. I love what you're doing, and it was an honor to chat with you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.